Hi, my name is Andrew Devine, and this is my final reflection for U.S. history. Um, this chapter in U.S. history was definitely very dark, um, but also at times very inspiring. But I think the biggest thing that stuck out is just the staggering death toll of the Civil War. 600 to 800,000 Americans dead, and that more Americans died in this war than Korea, Vietnam, World War One, World War Two combined. Like that is absolutely not. I mean, it's pretty unfathomable. Because I think about those wars, and I hear about countless and countless people dying. Um, and I was like, how could this be? How could this be? I think maybe the biggest reason is like Americans are fighting against each other, so both sides are taking deaths, and then also the new weapons, the new war tactics that we just really weren't ready for yet. Um, it's crazy, like that's just death. That doesn't include all the casualties and all the physical and even probably mental handicaps that were a result of this war. But then that makes me think about like how do you come back from this? Like after that many deaths, after you've killed your fellow countrymen, like how do we rebuild a country and live together again? I think that story about Ulysses S. Grant, about how after, I think it was right before the treaty of, right after General Lee surrendered, and the Union troops were kind of hooting and hollering and basically talking smack to the Southerners, and he tells them like, you do not treat your fellow countrymen like that. I think that is so important, and just the ability to kind of learn from it, and then kind of leave in the past, because that's all we can really do. But just yeah, Reconstruction, like what a complicated thing. It's crazy how Abraham Lincoln chose Andrew Johnson as his vice president, and he was not part of his political party. It was kind of an act of unity. Well, then Abraham Lincoln gets killed, and then Andrew Johnson takes over, and this guy is a white supremacist. You just fought this war for the sake of the rights of all men, and now you have a man who's the president of this new union who doesn't even believe in that. And then he starts he pardons all the Confederates, and he lets the black codes go through in the South, and basically the South is kind of right back to where they were. And it's pretty awesome that the Republicans were able to get a large enough majority to establish the what was it, the Military Act, the 1967 Military Reconstruction Act, and they send the military back into the southern, they're not even considered states, it's like military territories, to particularly protect the right for black people to vote, and protect them from the KKK, things like that. And they start to make legitimate progress. But the sad thing is was it really progress? Because as soon as they left the military, the South kind of went back to right where it was. And they made black people second-class citizens again, stripped them the right to vote, and basically made them slaves again with sharecropping. But I don't like that whole saying of the South lost the war, but they won the peace. This made me think what would it have looked like for the North to win the peace? Are you supposed to just militarily by force just dominate half your country for the rest of history? I don't really think that's gonna I don't think that's the answer. And you can't really change people. I don't know how to have handled it better. I'm not sure. To me, in my mind, it's okay, if I'm If I'm black, I'm in the South, I'm getting the hell out of there. I'm going north. But it's really easy in my modern mind to say that because transportation back then was not nearly as easy. Also, they don't have like skills. Like they're not literate. They don't, and so taking a risk like that may not have been smart. But yeah, it's just, and it's wild. We talked about the last day of class of how the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1965, 100 years after the American Civil War. 100 years after hundreds of thousands of peoples gave their life to give the black man rights, and that wasn't cashed out. That didn't really happen until 100 years later. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard chapter in history. But I'm really grateful for all those people who were willing to sacrifice their life for that cause. I think it was a good cause. It was a just war for the North. This whole idea of, like, you talked about, like, reframing the Civil War just being this state right. And yeah, I think that is it's a very dangerous thing to do. Maybe about the state's right to enslave people. That shouldn't be a right. No, not at all. It does seem, though, that, like, throughout this course, from the beginning of American history to whatever, 18, and even to now, there's, like, the constant battle between union and state rights, like federal powers and state powers. And, like, I mean, that's what Jefferson was all about. That was the whole Federalist and Jeffersonian debate. And I'm not sure where I stand on it yet, but I used to just be like, yeah, states should have the majority of the power. And I still believe that, but, like, after this, I'm like, well, no, states shouldn't have the power to take away people's right to vote. They shouldn't have the power to make people second-class citizens. They shouldn't have the power to basically enslave people. That's not a state right. So I wonder if we go, like, human rights should be protected by the federal government, and then basically most other things left to states. I don't know. It's a complicated issue. But taking this class, I think I have a more informed opinion about it. But there's my thoughts. Thanks.